Originally I wasn't going to film this, but I thought, what the heck, I might as well let people know what's currently going on. I'm at Walter's house right now, and the AC hadn't been working. Originally the blower had stopped blowing, and when I opened it up it wasn't frozen like this. And we thought, Big Nick came over to look at the system, and he thought that maybe it was the capacitor, possibly the thermostat. But I tried to get a new capacitor, and you can't really buy them. It's like hard to buy them locally. You kind of have to be a repair guy, certified repair guy, or they won't sell it to you. I think, although Ace Hardware might sell it, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm looking at ordering a capacitor online, and I also went to Home Depot to get a new thermostat, but it didn't fix the problem, so I took the thermostat back. Well, when I plugged everything back in, eventually, long story short, I got the system running again. So the blower fan here, the inside one here, was blowing, and the outside fan was working. So I thought everything was actually working, and it started to cool down. But then it stopped getting cold, which I didn't understand what was going on. Why the system was blowing, you know, the blower in here was blowing, but it was no longer blowing cold. This is out of focus. Sorry about that. This thing doesn't want to focus. All right. So the system was blowing, but not blowing cold. So I was getting ready to call AC repair guy, and was talking about this with my boss, and he said to check to see if the coils and stuff were all frozen. So I went outside and looked, and let me show you here. Went outside and looked. Keep my little tools. And it turned out that all the pipes, I looked in the AC unit, and I didn't see, I mean, I looked down there, and actually that was all white. I didn't even know it was frozen. I thought it was white paint. Everything down there, I guess that's the compressor, the AC compressor, I think, that tube thingy down there. Well, it was solid white, and all those pipes in there were white, and coming out, it was all white out here. Everything, this black pipe here was all white. I was like, dang, it was all iced over. So that's a sign that you may need a recharge, so you may have a Freon leak somewhere in the AC system. Or that's one of the symptoms, potentially. So I took some water from the hose there, and I hosed everything off to thaw it all out and let the ice drop off and stuff, which I did, and I got all this cleared, and I let it sit for about, 45 minutes to an hour, thinking that everything would melt, and then I could resume business, right? So I turned the system back on, but lo and behold, it still wasn't blowing cold air. So decided to look up how much it costs to recharge an AC system, and it's roughly around about 160 to 400 bucks, depending. I was like, well, that's kind of a lot of money. And then I was reading that, in theory, you weren't supposed to have to recharge a home AC system. The Freon is supposed to last the lifetime of the unit. Now, this unit's about 5 years old, so I'm like, well, there must be a leak or something. Let me, out of curiosity, open up this panel right here. So I decided to open up this bottom panel. This top panel here gives you access to the blower fan itself. It's a round blower fan that goes round and round, which I didn't take off here. But so the bottom has all these coils here, which are supposed to circulate the Freon, I guess, and cool the air. And then air from the blower gets sucked up through the system and goes through here and blows throughout the house. Well, the system wasn't blowing any air, and I was like, well, why is it not blowing the air when I can obviously hear the blower blowing? So I decided to open up this panel down here, and lo and behold, it was like frozen solid. You can see all the ice out there. Everything is like totally frozen. So I tried to thaw it out, and I didn't have access to a heat gun or a blow dryer. So I'm just trying it with this fan right here. And it is working, because before this whole thing was a solid chunk of ice. So you can see it's starting to thaw out right now. So I'm going to try to get the whole unit thawed out and clean it all and see if I can't get it working again. So this always seems to be noticeable on the weekend, which is when I come here and have time to actually look at everything. But looking here, and I don't know, that looks really dirty. I'm going to try to clean everything when it thaws out. and hopefully I can get it to work. You can see all the water dripping here. It's I put a bucket down there and some other stuff. My old Denoy shirt right there. U.S. Post Office. Oh, this is pretty cool, isn't it? You guys ever do that? Talk through a fan and listen to your voice and hear yourself sound like this? Well, anyhow, so we're gonna let this thing thaw out. I'll have to deal with the puddle here and see if I can't get this unit running. Although I don't think it's gonna run correctly because it appears to be either low on Freon, low on coolant, or there's some other issues. But we'll clean it and see if that solves the problem. And if that solves the problem, then that's really good. But I was talking to Walter, and I guess he had the same problem before, and he called, what was it, weather engineers, and they came out here and they added a little bit of Freon and cleaned out, vacuumed it out, I guess, the system, and cleaned it, but you can see it still has the same issue, so they didn't really repair it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and thaw it out and then take a look at it and clean it out and see if we can't get it working.